Okay, if you can confirm that you can hear me now, but um, yeah, here it's saying I'm fine. So can you confirm you can hear me now, please, before I carry on? Whilst I'm waiting for a confirmation, just those that can hear me, subscribe, share, like. Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? I'm just working on my sound. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I'm literally trying to work on my sound. Can you hear me now? Okay, somebody said it's working. Great. So yes, today. So if you missed yesterday I was talking about what is dating, how do you know who to date, when do you start dating. So if you missed it, please find the link of the session somewhere on our channel. It is there, day 2 conversation. You will see it. It will really be of good value to you if you're still single, especially if you're not dating yet. That we shared some great tips on how to know when you should start dating and when you should date. And we carry on with conversation to continue with the dating and courtship season. And specifically tonight, we want to talk about what is wholeness and some of the things that we can expect or we can experience when we're dating. So, in other words, the dangers of courtship or the dangers of dating. And I'm not by myself today. I've got a wonderful guest that is joining us for tonight. So I'm just going to bring her on so that she can do justice in introducing herself before we dive into this topic for tonight. And whilst I'm bringing her in, just share the broadcast on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're on. Let people know that we are live. Hello, good evening. Good evening, how are you? I can't hear you. What's happening with my volume today? I
Oh
cannot
no,
hear you
sorry,
at
it's
all.
me.
Oh, I can hear you now. Oh,
Yeah,
great. How are you
yeah, no,
doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I've actually realized what was happening. Okay.
Oh, can you?
Bear
There's
with me,
like a
sorry.
weird
I was
sound.
using the wrong screen, so
Oh,
that's why
okay.
people couldn't hear me. I was using the wrong screen. So
Oh,
apologies,
okay.
guys, if you thought I was looking away from you. I'm literally using two screens, and the one I thought I was on live on was not on. So, but yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
wasn't ignoring you or turning away from you. Here I am. So, good evening. Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. My voice is getting a bit cranky. It's been a long day for me. But
Mm.
please introduce yourself to us. Who are you? What do you do? What do you like? What do you not like? I mean, just a little taste of who we're talking to tonight.
Yeah, my name is Tendai. I'm a mental health nurse. Um, I guess I attend Faith House Church. I don't really know what else to say. What do I like? I don't know. I like Jesus. I love Jesus. That's something. And yeah, I guess um, you know, relationships is like a big topic that everybody always likes to talk about because it's something so kind of like I don't know, it's it's important to discuss for those who are in relationship and for those who are not in relationship.
Yeah.
It's something that has to be talked about. It's something that has to be kind of dealt with um, in a manner that that gives people wisdom and allows people to have enough information to be able to navigate um, you know whatever season, whether it's singleness or marriage or dating or courtship or whatever season every individual's in.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a very good topic to discuss, and I feel like in in fact I actually even feel like that there's not enough people talking about it in a way that actually encourages it to be done in a way that's healthy, in a way that actually lasts long. Because
Mm,
sometimes like I hear people talk about relationships and marriage and stuff like that, but it doesn't, they talk about it in a way that actually doesn't kind of produce longevity in marriage or even in just like the dating season. you know. It's more so kind of like, oh, I want to be in love. But then when you do get in love, love comes with a lot of challenges and, discussions and talks and likes and dislikes and trying and failing and trying again. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for saying that. I mean, one of the reasons that we really felt to go with what we felt the Holy Spirit was leading us to do in having these 21 days conversations, we thought, 21 days is a bit daunting. But just like what you said, I think there's not enough glorification of marriages that are actually working well. There is not enough glorification of the fact that marriage is a good thing that God created, that
Yeah.
God desires us to be in union with somebody for his glory, for his kingdom, to show forth the relationship that he desires or that he has for us and as the church and him. So I think this is something that we are really trusting God to do a mighty work throughout these next 21 days so that we can really hammer it in within our society, within our communities, that as much as we can hear so much about crazy things, marriage is still a great thing,
Yeah.
and you can still have a great marriage. You can still desire it if you had cancelled it for whatever bad reasons that you had cancelled it for. But if you look at it from God's perspective and what God intended, and if he desires for you to be married, if you just tune yourself to align yourself with the will of the Father, you can have a great marriage.
Mm.
Thank you so much for that intro. Perfectly said. My first question to you was going to be, what are your thoughts on marriage? But what are your thoughts in regards to dating and courtship? Oftentimes we use the words interchangeably when we're talking about dating and courtship.
Yeah.
I would like to just take it as the same meaning. Dating and courtship. Let's put it in the same umbrella. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, especially as children of God, as believers. Should we date? Should we have arranged marriages? Should we, just what do you believe about that?
I think, I guess, in the societies we live in, or in Christendom, as I like to call it, it can be very difficult to kind of gather your thoughts about what you think about dating and what should be done in dating and courtship. What is that? Define it. What does it look like? To you as an individual and stuff. And for me, I guess, um, I've had to do a lot of redefining. And by the grace of God, God has helped me in that journey of redefining what dating looks like,
Yeah,
and understanding what that means to me as a person, as an individual, and to, I guess, like the relationships that I want, or the dating relationship that I want for myself.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, a big part of, I guess, dating is, I guess understanding what it is, especially for a Christian, for a believer. And for me, one of the things that helped was, I guess, listening to a lot of people
yeah,
teach and preach about dating relationships. I think for a while I was like, oh, why do I need to listen to, what people have to say about dating and relationships and whatever. It's just, especially being in the world, I was somebody that, talk to different guys and stuff like that. So to me, it was like, oh, why do I need to, um, you know, really understand how this thing works?
yeah,
But then, in Christ, I guess God made me realize that I had to rewire how I saw dating, um, and how what it means to Him, especially, what it means to God. So I think one thing that was really important to me was to just understand that, okay, dating, it's not necessarily, okay, it's fun, it's nice to be loved, it's nice to be in a relationship, it's nice to be spoiled and, I don't know, taken out on dates and doing nice adventurous things with, your partner and stuff. But at the core of that is, what does this dating relationship kind of, um like, what's the goal, what are we doing here,
yeah,
you know um and I feel like that's a really, really good question to ask at the beginning of the relationship. Okay, like, what are we doing before we start, going into things that we shouldn't, or going into territories that we're not ready for. What is this? Define it.
Yeah.
What are we doing? You
Mhm.
know, I'm winking at you, you're winking at me. we
I
can
like that. You're
we
winking
can
at me. I'm winking at you. Like, so you are winking, right? Like, girls,
yes,
you wink as well.
we can
Oh
see
wow.
we can see the wink, wink, wink. Everybody's winking. So what is this? What are we doing?
Well, one of the things that we spoke about yesterday was
Mm,
the fact that when we spoke from the story of the servant of Abraham who was sent to look for a wife for his son. If you know, for those that are biblical, if you go and read the book of Genesis, chapter 12. When the servant was given instructions, and what I love about the servant is, even though he wasn't Isaac, he did what Isaac, I believe, what Isaac could have done. He inquired of the Lord and actually asked God, give me a sign. Let
yeah,
what if I see this and this and this, let this be the person. Do you think that that should be, the approach that guys should come with, or that you would love someone to come with if somebody's not there already? I'm not getting in your business, but he prayed and said, God, let when I see this, when I experience this, let this be the person for me. So I think one of the things that I'm trying to encourage, especially believers, is don't approach a girl until you know, or at least have a leading that this is the person I want a future with, as
yeah,
opposed to I'm just checking what you're like. I mean, have
yes.
some feeling about what I'm like already from the spirit before you approach me in the physical. Or perhaps is that being too spiritual, or especially in this generation that we're in? What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree with you. I think, when I look back in my previous experiences, when guys would approach me, um, you know, you can now, because I can compare situations. I can now see that I would definitely agree with what you're saying, because when somebody comes to you with the thought of, oh, I just want to see what you're like, especially for guys, I feel like for guys, it shows that they're not serious.
Hmm.
And for me, that's already a red flag. Because if
Yeah.
you're only just coming to just kind of, oh, let me just inquire, because at the end of the day, you can inquire without even looking like you're inquiring. And because that's gonna, because when I now come and inquire and be like, ah, Nomsa, what's going on here, what's happening, you're gonna be like, well, that's when the winking starts winking,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nobody's ready for the winking yet. That's when the excitement starts flowing, but
Yeah.
nobody's ready for it. So I think it's very important that guys really kind of define for themselves first, okay, what is it that I want from this person? Do I want to pursue them? From what
Yeah.
I've seen, can I actually see a future with them? In fact, can I pray about it? Because if you
Mm.
pray about it, that shows that you're intentional and you actually want
Yeah.
this thing, and you want it to work, you want it to last, and you're ready to do the work that comes in with it. Whereas if I'm just saying, oh, I've seen you, you look nice, I just want to inquire and see what's going on in there. Nah, you're just coming to maybe scatter my
Imagine.
life.
Imagine. I know a lot of times we hear the statement that, obviously is the biblical, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. So we have the statement that when you find her, she must be a wife, meaning she must have all the qualities and characteristics, and, doing the things that shows that she's a wife. But me, I'm like, you must also be a husband when you come. I
Exactly.
mean, guys, we're coming for you. We're going to have a conversation with guys. You're going to come and have your say. So we are not digging at you or anything. I mean, you're going to have your say on what you want guys or girls to be like, or, what you think they should do to prepare. But I always say that you must be a husband as well for you to need or to come for a wife. Because if I'm going to be a wife and you're going to be a boy, then really, um, I'm going to be the one doing all the work whilst you're playing in the field. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. Um, I love, if you're still single or if you're dating, I'll recommend this book to you, Waiting and Dating by the late Dr. Miles Monroe. It's an amazing book. Even if you're married, I mean, I still read it today. Has got some great principles. And one of the principles that he shares is that you must not start dating until you are aware of the dangers and the benefits of dating. And before we run out of time, I want us to touch a little bit of on some of the dangers, that comes with dating. I mean, like when you are actually now starting a relationship with someone and you are now in that relationship, what are some of the dangers that can, occur from either side, whether from the guy or from the man, from the girl, because I think as girls sometimes when we start dating, we go full in, and then one of the dangers is the guy is not full in yet, but you're already in. You start cleaning his clothes, you start buying him food, you start making his dinners, you start doing all the wife duties, only for him to tell you that actually he's not ready to get married, and devastation and all heartbroken comes in. So let's talk a little bit on some of the dangers in regards to when you're dating.
Mm-hmm. I would say one thing I would first say, I guess, from my own experience is that I think it's very important, again, to define what it is from the beginning, because that will save you a lot of heartbreak. That will save you a lot of heartache. Because if a guy comes to you and because remember, he's supposed to be your leader, in your house, he's supposed
Supposed
to
to
be
be.
the head of your home. So that starts from dating. It doesn't start from when you've put a ring on my finger and now let's go into the house. Let's be married. No, it starts from you dating. And I've realized that a lot of the times, when men come to you correct, and by what I mean by correct is that they know what they want. They
Mm-hmm.
know that they want a future with you, and they know that they want to, I don't know, build something more than friendship with you. So that standard is already set.
Yeah.
So when it now comes to you dating, it's a lot easier to know where you stand with the person. Whereas
Yeah.
when you don't know where you stand with the person, sometimes that's when you find girls working too hard to try and prove themselves to
Mm.
somebody that hasn't earned that, that level of I don't know, that level of I don't know, expectation, whatever,
Yeah.
that level of like what you're saying about you're giving him wifely kind of duties, you're fulfilling wifely duties when you're still not even kind of figured out what is this, does this guy actually even want me? That's a great place to start for both men and women. Does
Mm-hmm.
this girl even want me? Does this guy even want me? Establish that first. So once you've now established that, okay, when we want each other, we want, the future together, it makes it a lot easier to now define, okay, what do we do after? um I think another kind of danger is coming to it misinformed, and
Mm.
actually not understanding that, okay, what this is what marriage is for.
Yeah.
um for me, I think a kind of really revolutionary point for me was when I realized that, okay, marriage is actually worship to God. So in
Mm.
everything I do in my relationship, in everything that I do in my marriage, it's meant to give worship to God.
Yeah.
And am I ready for that? Am I ready to sacrifice? Because marriage is sacrifice, and marriage is work. People talk about how it's, oh yeah, it's fun and games. It's nice to be loved, don't get me wrong. It's nice to be pampered,
It's
get
work
flowers,
to be
everything like
loved, and it's work to
exactly.
love.
Exactly, but it's
Literally.
work. So understand what you're getting yourself into. It's like any job, right?
Yeah.
For you to apply for a job, you need to know, okay, this is the criteria, this is what they require of me, this is what they want of me.
Yeah.
And then you prepare yourself, right? Because you want the job. Why is it different with marriage? Why is it different with
Yeah.
relationship? Why is
Yeah.
it different with dating? You save yourself a lot of trouble if you do your research. Okay, read books. Like I started reading books. I was and I really allowed God to just work on me and my character and stuff like that through the books and through the different people I was talking to. So inform yourself, give yourself knowledge. The Bible talks about how my people perish for the lack of knowledge, and I feel like it's the same that applies to this conversation, that we need to give ourselves knowledge so that we can be more informed in how we now maneuver ourselves in relationship, because it's work. it's
Yeah.
it's work. I don't want to lie to you. I'll be very like wicked if I didn't tell you that it's work. But it's lovely
So
work.
I
It's
can
good work.
testify for you that, like, I
Yeah.
remember one of our mentors said that love that doesn't make a demand is not love at all. You know, and again, it goes back to the cross. For God so loved that He gave all that He had to prove. And so, when God is asking us to give all our hearts to Him, to give all our mind to Him, to give everything to Him, He's actually saying, I did all the work. Now I'm waiting for you to do all the work as well to prove your love
Yeah.
for me. So again, it's literally what it is. When you're getting into a courtship, you are saying, I want to be, I want to get into a relationship that will lead me to a place of sacrifice. And if you're not matured and you're not ready for that, then you don't get into the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, one thing I will have to speak out for guys is getting with someone that they're more into than the girl is into them. You know, those encounters whereby they quickly fall in love. I won't even call it love. I think most of it is lust. They really go for the girl because they're into the girl so much more than the girl is into them. And the whole society can tell them that this girl is not interested in you. Maybe she's just after your money or after your contacts or after, but being so blinded to what you want that you miss the fact that the other person doesn't want you.
Yeah.
I think that in itself is a danger, you know, when you're dating, when you're in that kind of scenario. And to get into a marriage in that scenario whereby one wants the other more than the other is not a fair balance it's not even the balance that will keep the marriage. Because marriage is about, and like I said, the relationship between us and Christ, He gave. And so when He demands of us, He's not demanding something He never gave. You know, He's demanding everything He demands of us. He's done it beforehand. So when you're now in a marriage whereby you are just being the one giving, and because you started like that in the dating season and the courtship season, it's going to continue like that. And at some
Mm.
point, you'll get exhausted that you just want to quit. And we end up having divorce after divorce. Like, one of the questions I'm getting from a lot of single people is, why is there so much divorce in even in the Christendom? And one
Yeah.
of my responses is because of situations like this. You know, the dangers in dating, whereby we see the danger sign, but yet we blindfold our eyes and carry on into the marriage, only to get burnt out at some point, that we rather quit and have the stigma of marriage than to carry on getting burnt. How can time just goes when you're talking. um, you know, how can, especially for girls, you know, we'll get guys to come and talk from their own perspective, but as a girl, how can you protect yourself from some of these dangers that can occur when you are dating somebody or when you're thinking of dating someone? How can you prevent what is preventable?
I think again, knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, know what you're getting into. Another thing is know yourself. If you know
Mm-hmm.
yourself, okay, is this really what I want? Because
Yeah.
the trouble that some people get into is that they don't know themselves enough to know that this is what I want, this is what I don't
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Of course, and make realistic expectations. I think some girls make unrealistic expectations, and then they get into relationships, and then they get into marriage, and then they realize that, oh, in fact, I didn't even actually like this. It was just an unrealistic expectation that was set
Yes.
by worldly people, worldly standards. Oh, I like this. But where are those expectations coming from? Are they coming
Mm.
from the Bible? Are they coming from you know Christendom, or are they just coming from anywhere and everywhere, and you're just taking it and you're just running with it? I think another thing is heal. um there's nothing worse than getting into a relationship when you haven't healed, because then
Wow.
you're expecting the other person to kind of um fill those gaps that
Mm.
you're not whole in. you
Yeah.
and that clouds your judgment as well, because then your feelings are all over the place. You're not necessarily in the relationship to work together with the person, to see them for who they are, to serve them, to support them, but then sometimes you even become a, what do they call those people, a leech,
A
where
leech.
it's like me, feed me, take care of me. I want
Mm.
your money, I want your car, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this. But what about you? you know
Mm.
to save yourself from some, because I hear like a lot of girls, you know, going through heartbreak and stuff, and even me, I've lived this, so I can say I've lived it. You know, when I hadn't healed, I found myself in a lot of very confusing situations.
Yeah.
And you know, now years later, now that I've healed from, you know, all my trauma, I can look back and be like, what was I even
What
looking
was
for?
I doing? Like,
Yeah,
what was going
what
on? Who was
what was I
that?
doing? And I can't even recognize myself in those seasons
Yeah.
because I was looking for, you know, relationships, but out of a place of hurt and out of a
Mm,
place of just brokenness. And you
yeah.
can't do that. So identify where you're at and be real with yourself. And it's okay.
Mm,
If you're broken, it's okay. Like nobody's gonna judge you for it. It's just where you are. It doesn't mean that that's where you're gonna always be. Um, by the grace of God, you heal, you grow, but just be real with yourself and know yourself. And I feel like if you do genuinely know yourself, you will know what you want in a guy and what you don't. And it will actually make it even easier to discern what God is saying to you and where
mhm,
God is directing you. Because like even for me, the things that I wanted in a guy, God completely gave me what I needed, not what I wanted. He gave me what I needed, and it was only later on I was like, oh my gosh, like this is this is what I needed
mm.
God to give me, not what I, because what I wanted, hey, that probably would have ended me up in trouble. But yeah, I think that's really important. I
Wow.
hope that summarizes your
That
question.
was like, we need a part two of you because literally that was just amazing. Thank you so much. This is a necessary conversation, especially in today's society. And I think the more we have these conversations, the more we can have healthier relationships, the more we can have people working on themselves to be whole so that you can give yourself to somebody else as a whole person rather than trying to have, you know, there's a statement we used to say back in the day, oh, I found my better half, or I found someone to complete me. No, 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 no. Be complete before you get with someone else so that you can have one and one whole overflowing in your relationships. Thank you so much. We're going to have you back so that we can complete this conversation. Um, we're getting deeper and deeper into the conversation, guys. You know, dating and courtship. What is it really about? What is intended in this season when you're in dating and courtship? What are you supposed to be digging into the other person? Like, what are you supposed to be finding out? What are you supposed to be raising, mending? What are you supposed to be, you know, straightening out? And
Yeah.
one of the things that we're going to be talking about in the next few days is accountability. Accountability. How do you stay accountable when you're in courtship? Should you be accountable to anybody when you're in courtship, or do you wait until you get married? We are getting into the conversations. Tendai, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Can you just give us 1 minute closing remarks on everything that you've just been talking about?
I guess again, I'll just reiterate, or I guess I add a point that summarizes everything. I think when it comes to dating, the most important thing is to really be in a good place with God, because if you're in a good place with God, I honestly believe that that then helps you to discern and be able to guard your heart against the bad things and the good things. You
Yeah.
know, relationships and even friendships, when we go through friendships, when we look at our friendships, it's the same as a marriage relationship, but obviously the context is a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need God to be able to sustain those relationships. We need God to be able to lead us into them. And we need God to be able to change ourselves.
Yeah.
Even for us, you know, in there's moments where we can't change certain things in our partners that only God can.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the main thing is just being in good relationship with God, and knowing the will of God for your life. Because if you know the will of God for your life, it also helps you to now discern, okay, this person has come into my life. They're saying they want me. They're saying I look pretty, I look beautiful. Okay, let's really look at this, you know, with my calling and what God has placed on my life. Will this person be able to walk with me through that?
Mm.
If that person isn't even having the same biblical beliefs as you, honey, just close the door, see you later.
Literally.
If you know that they're going to be a hindrance to your prayer life, to your I don't know, to just your walk with God in general, you're seeing that this person, I don't know, their character is a bit off, just leave it. Just leave it. And you can only realize some of those things if you're in good relationship with God. Again, every relationship comes with problems. Every you know close relationship, in fact, comes with issues. So you're bound to go into some problems, but those problems are not supposed to be like so terrible that today we're going to divorce. We need to be able to manage conflict and stuff like that. So that's the last thing I'll just kind of leave you guys with, is that love God, focus on God. And some people get annoyed. I used to get annoyed when people used to be like, what do you mean focus on God and the relationship will come? It didn't
Yeah.
make sense to me. But when I actually did do that, and I just said, God, like, here's my life, you do whatever you want with it,
Yeah.
the rest did come. And God was faithful. So yeah, those are my last words.
Wow, thank you so much. We're going to talk about that as well. What does it mean to say focus on God, especially in your single season? Guys, some of you are probably going to be closing some doors before you sleep. As she said, you just need to be like, boy, bye, or girl, bye. Thank you so much for tuning in. Marriage Conversations, in conversation with Tendai. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom, for pouring into this conversation. We will be back live again tomorrow, 9 p.m. Same channel, Kingdom Influence Network. If you've not subscribed yet, do subscribe so you can, and press the notification button so you can be notified when we are back on tomorrow, 9 p.m. Continuing on this subject, dating and courtship. God bless you and have a wonderful evening.